Welcome to the 100 Master Coaches series featuring master coaches from around the world. Let's journey together on this 100 Master Coaches series with your host, Coach Mel, MCC. Gaurav Arora has over 15 years of rich experience as a facilitator, coach, and speaker, with a strong track record of building high-performing leadership teams. As an executive coach, he works to dismantle barriers which come up at workplace for leaders and help them in fulfilling their intent. Gaurav is a faculty member with the Leadership Circle and an international partner and coach mentor to Erickson Coaching International in India. Now on to the show.
Hello, and welcome to the 100 Master Coaches show. This is Coach Mal, and today I have a special guest, of course, and he is from Delhi, India. He's none other than Gaurav Arora. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you so much, Mel. Such a pleasure to be on this show. Have heard so much about you. Have watched few of your recordings with few of the best masterful coaches that I've had the opportunity and the privilege of interacting with, and I've learned a lot from those masterful coaches. And the very fact that you have considered me to stand on the same platform, I think that's an honor. So shukrana. Thank you so much.
You are most welcome, and we are so glad that you can be on the show. I've also spoken to you before, and I've heard other people talk about you. You know, I gotta have Gaurav on my show. So here you are.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
And we're gonna jump straight in, Gaurav. I'm gonna ask you about your coaching journey. How did it begin for you?
Yeah. It's an interesting question, Mel. Thank you for asking this. And every time when somebody asks me that question, it pours in the memories of those initial days. It all started, I used to work for one of the leadership development companies in the country.
I see.
And I'm talking about 2005, 2006.
Mm.
And 2006 is when the term coaching started to shine on the land of India.
I see.
And I was one of those chosen ones, one of those lucky ones who was there at the right time, right place, right people, and the right opportunity came my way. And without even knowing what I'm getting into, I was drifted into that. I was pulled into that. And since then, I think I've been breathing, eating, inhaling, sleeping, drinking, coaching, and coaching. So yeah, it all started in the year 2006, where I was involved in putting together the first coach training program in the country. And possibly that was one of those initial programs that was happening in this part of the country, in New Delhi, where I stay. That's how it all began. And it has been a humbling journey.
And I'm just so curious, right? It's like, what made you jump into this, right? Well, what drew you into coaching?
Now, there are two responses to that. And I will check with you based on your answer. I will start the channel. Which one do you want? An honest one or the marketing one?
I always like the honest one first.
So let me be very honest to you. I think, as I mentioned, I just got lucky.
Okay.
Right. I might tell you that I planned it like that. I worked really hard, but I personally feel that's BS.
Okay.
The truth is, I just got lucky. You know, I'm a firm believer that when the universe starts to shine at you, you can blossom.
Wow.
And I think I choose to believe that I'm a special child. God has been extremely kind to me in everything that I've done. All the people that I've met, all the friends that I've met, all the certifications that I've had the honor of undergoing, the teachers that I've met, Dr. Marilyn Atkinson, Richard Barrett, Bob Anderson, Ramana Maharishi. So all these are the teachers who came in my life. But to tell you the truth, as I'm saying, I just got lucky. You know, as I told you, right opportunity, right place, right people. And I was there in the lap of this opportunity. And it happened. So that's the honest confession.
If you were to extend that into The marketing spin-off things.
Oh, I can talk about that for hours altogether. Actually, what happened, Mel, I was working with one of the L&D companies and they asked me that they are thinking of getting a new content to India. And I said,
I
let me just
see.
go through that. Let me just check it if
Okay.
it's worth to bring that to India. And
Okay.
I read for hours and hours for a few weeks. And then I said, hey, this is the nice program you should invest in. And I did a lot of
Mm.
research around that. And that's where I got into that. Nah, let's be honest and let's stick to that response. I just
Sure.
got lucky. It's
Sure.
grace.
Sure. I love the word grace. Grace is like what they say, unmerited favor poured into your lap. You can accept it, acknowledge it, or say it's something else. But
Absolutely.
I'm glad you said it was part of your portion to be humbly accepting this
Yeah.
gift that was
Yeah.
given to you. That's
Yeah. It
beautiful.
as you said it, it actually came in my lap.
Mm.
I looked at that. I smiled at that. Grace smiled at me. Acknowledged. I said, hey, I'm being the lucky one. And with a lot of humility, I said, let me just walk on this path without even
Mm.
realizing that's the path that I would take
Mm.
after 16 years, 17 years, and I continue
Mm.
to
Mm.
walk on this path.
That's beautiful. And you know, many listening onto this show will say, but Gaurav, I'm sure you were doing other stuff before that, right? Tell us about the other stuff before that, before coaching. I think every one of us have the before
And after.
coaching life.
Yeah.
So,
So my before coaching life was before that I used to work with a bank. No,
got it.
before that I used to work with a KPO, a knowledge process outsourcing firm in India.
Ah, yeah.
And to tell you the truth, Mel, in my first job with the bank, I hated
Mm.
it. I hated it. Literally, I hated it. I could not understand what debit is, what credit is. I just used to
Oh,
check with my friends, have I got the money or the money has been taken out from my bank?
yeah.
As simple as that.
Yeah.
In the next job with that KPO, I could find that everything is going okay. It's a 9 to 5 job.
Yeah.
I'm getting the salary at the end of the month. The organization is providing meals
Mm.
2 times a day.
Mm.
There's a good, intelligent bunch of people that I work with. There are good looking faces all around. And I was a young boy or a man at that point in time.
Mm.
It was going okay. I mean, without realizing that's not what's giving me the spark. That was not making my heart sing. That was not making my soul dance. That was not bringing the spark in my eyes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was just going to the office and coming back. At the end of the day, I was like really tired. That's where I switched over from that KPO to work in something that I really care for. Not care for is the wrong word. At that point in time, that was not a part of my vocabulary. I think what I really enjoy,
Yeah.
and that's where I switched over to this space of learning and development and specifically training.
Mm.
Yeah, that's before coaching.
Okay. So now, with X number of years, I would love to track with you from the time you got exposed to coaching, 2005, 2006, you're saying. How was the first few years like? Because the first few years is often the harder years.
It's a beautiful question. I'm just looking at what perspective should I look at this question. I can look at 2006 is when I got exposed to coaching. I personally feel that three things happen to you.
Mm.
Love happens to you, spirituality happens to you, and so is coaching. So coaching happened to me in the year 2006. Having said that, I started my own company in the year 2008 end. Now, if I look at the initial 2 years, 2006 to 2008, it was because there was a cushion of monthly salary that was coming my way. And I was enjoying that because
Yeah.
there was a sense of comfort, there was a sense of security there.
Yeah.
And I was really enjoying and talking about coaching. I think the initial few years, the work that I did was evangelizing coaching. In fact, 2008 end is when I started my own company. 2009 is when I got exposed to ICF in India. On the personal front, on the business front, it was difficult because I was comparatively younger, leaner. Now I have got few streaks of gray hair uh, and a little less hair here. And people used to say we're looking for somebody who's more mature and somebody who is more senior. I'm sure you would have experienced that as well.
Yeah.
And one fine day, I was having a conversation with this friend of mine who is a part of HR and used to work with one of the telecom companies in India.
Yeah.
His name is Vikram Kaul, somebody I've got high respects for. And he said, Gaurav, to tell you the truth, we are looking for somebody with gray hair and no hair. Do you get that? I said, shucks, man, it'll take me a few years now to get to that point. None
Yeah.
of my experience, no coaching certification is going to help
It's
me.
gonna help
So
you.
that was
Yeah.
happening at the business front. But I think what kept me going was when I got involved with ICF.
Mm.
Now, ICF has got something really magical in that, a sense of community, the sense of growth, the sense of networking, the sense of learning opportunities that ICF provides. And I don't know why, but I fell in love with the complete concept of coaching and the complete ecosystem of coaching. And during that time, I think I was a board member with the ICF India chapter. I was so much involved with the day to day activities of ICF.
Mm.
And I thought that my purpose was at that point in time was to evangelize and educate people on coaching. And I think we really did that because if you look at the growth of coaching in India and the number of coaches that came in this ecosystem during that time
Yeah.
grew up substantially. We started webinar series, we started newsletters, we started doing some small events. We started a podcast in the year 2012. That's when I became the president of ICF India chapter.
Yeah.
Post that, we did 2 international coaching conferences in India for the first time in the country.
Mm. Mm.
So, on the professional front, getting business was really difficult. Why? Because I was not prepared. The cake that I was working towards, it was half baked in terms of knowledge.
Mm.
It was not sellable. We are looking for gray hair, no hair. So it was difficult. The
Yeah.
initial years of business, the initial years of coaching, the nascent stage the industry was into at that point in
Mm.
time in India. On the ICF front, I think I loved it.
Mm.
I just loved it. Knocking from one door to another, moving from one organization to another, doing road shows, talking about coaching, and telling them what coaching is and the potential it has. Just loved it.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear you. So business wasn't too good, but I hear that you weren't too bothered about that because you were so engulfed in the whole evangelism of
Yeah.
coaching and getting the news out there that this is gonna change your life.
Yeah. This is something that you must taste. I think today also, I'm
Yeah.
as passionate as I
Yeah.
was then.
Yeah. I'm sure. I'm sure.
So nothing
Yeah.
much has shifted for me, I guess. It's just that
Yeah.
now I've got a little bit more gray streaks of hair, a little bit more sellable I am. I choose to believe. Yeah.
Wonderful. So through that journey, I'm going to ask you for a couple of insights for us over X number of years that you've experienced this journey of coaching. What would they be?
That's a brilliant question. I personally feel with utmost conviction
Mm.
that who you are is how you coach. So if there's one thing that can make all the difference in your journey as an individual, as a coach, as a leader, is self-awareness. The journey of a coach is like climbing a mountain without the top. I mean, the journey of a coach is the journey of a human being.
Yeah.
That's number one insight. If I were to add one more, I would say, unless I can accept myself as a coach, I'll not be able to hold the space for the other person. Coaching is becoming more and more important to keep the humanity intact and together. It's a loud statement, I know this. And I'm not talking about the way we talk about business coaching or executive coaching. I'm talking about the plain essence of coaching. And I think humanity begins with self-acceptance. And the third insight would be the world would be a very different place only if I can learn to listen to you. If only I can listen to you as if I'm listening to the universe, this relationship would get transformed. Uh, Awareness, acceptance, and listening. So that's what I would dabble with. Yeah.
Each of them goes so deep, right? Even if I take the last one, and that listening is not how the world is terming what listening is, right? It's like, listen, I'm listening. Yeah, go ahead, talk. But it's that whole posture of listening that we often come in a posture of not knowing what we're going to listen to.
Yeah. I can reckon with you on that. So Mel, just curious, you are a masterful coach and an MCC coach. You have interviewed so many MCCs in the world. What has been your key insight as a coach?
First and foremost, no one's asked me a question on my show.
Okay, am I allowed?
Hey, definitely. If I were to choose one, because there are countless that just washes over me now as I think through it. I think one simple one is the ability to be coached yourself. If we ourselves don't think we can accept coaching in the most humblest of ways, why do we think we can be doing so onto another human being?
Mm.
So again, it's that similar posture of coming as empty as it is, without needing to have something planned, something manufactured before time, and coming with that real pureness in that I don't know, and yet I'm not afraid of that I don't know moment.
Mm. Mm.
That is truly magical, if I can say.
Thank you for sharing. Let me just absorb this, what you said. Because while I was listening to you, if I replace the word coach with the human being, I think the definition will remain the same. And you spoke about emptiness. Some time back, I wrote an article on the metaphor that represents coaching. And the metaphor that came to me was a flute.
Mm.
And in Indian mythology, there is a god, Lord Krishna, I'm sure you would have heard of.
Yeah.
And Lord Krishna had a flute with him all the times.
Mm.
He had 108 gopis. Gopis is those women who were in love with this man. And Lord Krishna was so much in love with his flute. And he would keep that flute always with him. Now, what happened is there was a conversation that started to happen between those gopis, those women, and that flute.
Mm.
And gopis went to that flute and said, you know what, we are so jealous of you. I don't know why Lord Krishna keeps you close to him and doesn't even look at us.
Mm.
Now, flute was silent for a long time. And the flute kept listening and listening and listening. And those gopis kept on venting and venting and venting. And after some time, flute said that every time when I'm in the presence of my Lord, I'm silent, I'm empty, I'm hollow.
Wow. Wow.
And every time when he blows through me,
Mm.
he listens to his own music.
Mm.
Isn't that what a coach is all about? How can I
Wow.
be empty and hollow in
Wow.
front of you? And every time when you blow through me,
Mm.
you will listen to your own music.
To your own.
And as you are talking about being empty, I think that so beautifully resonates with what I wrote
Thank you.
a few years back. So thank you for sharing this.
Wow. Lovely, lovely metaphor. Gaurav, if I asked you what would be that bravest moment in your journey as a coach? Could you name me one?
I mean, and it's not a mandate if I was successful in that or not, right?
Obviously not.
Then I tried to coach my wife.
You said the word tried to. I hope you were
Absolutely.
somewhat successful.
I was very successfully, I failed there. I remember I was leading this program called the Art and Science of Coaching in India, and there were people sitting. And at the end of the program, what I did was the mischievous me, the naughty me, drew an asterisk at the end of the program on the flip chart, and people said, "Hey, what is the asterisk?" I said, "I want to give you a disclaimer here." And he said, "What is that?" He said, "Please don't use coaching skills with your partner. It's not that it would backfire." Now, that's on the lighter side. Coming back to your question, I think the bravest thing I've done, the journey that I started to confront myself.
Wow.
When I started to face my own fears, face those sides of my own self that I hate the most today as well, that I don't like. It could be as simple as the competitiveness that I hold. And if I go deeper and check where's that come from, I hated it when the first time I realized it's coming from a space of inferiority. The arrogance that I carry on my shoulders, where does that come from? The ego that I carry, where does that come from? The scarcity mentality that I've been holding on to, where does that come from? Few things when I get into hierarchies and anything that separates me from other individual, where does that come from? I think confronting that is definitely one of the bravest things that I've done internally.
Yeah.
And if I look at without, it's like leaving my job, which was very safe and secured, partnering with Erickson Coaching International and represent their programs in India, starting my own company, bringing people to collaborate with the organization. I think those are the small, bravest things that I've done. So within and without. So, yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you. And thank goodness it's a lot more than just that coaching session with their spouse.
Absolutely. That's the top of the
That's the top of
list
the list.
stack.
Yeah.
Absolutely. After that, the list begins actually. Yeah. This reminds me of a joke. It says that once an individual goes to Lord Shiva and says, "Hey, Lord Shiva, I want to construct a direct bridge from New Delhi to New York." And Lord Shiva said, "Hey, what are you talking about? This is not possible. You asked me the second thing and I'll make that possible." He said, "Are you sure?" He said, Yeah. Please go ahead." So this gentleman thought for a while and he said, "Can you give me a pill that would allow me to convince my wife for the thing that I really want her to do?" Lord Shiva said, "Come to me tomorrow. We are starting the construction."
Number one. Let's focus on number one first.
Absolutely.
Oh gosh. I love how you said the internal side about you. Thank you for being so honest, so open, even on this live show, right? I really
Is it
appreciate it.
live?
Well,
Is
it's
it
not
live? You should have
live,
told
but
me.
it's like it's
You should have
recorded.
told me. I would have blocked my wife's account.
Well, she get to see it. She will get to see it if you allow her. Right? Yeah.
Shucks, yeah.
But the point again is the internal part where you're talking about the insecurities, you're talking about that. And I'd love to share this one little thought with you. One day we had the CEO of ICF come visit us in Australia. And she said this, "I've got a question for you guys." And we're like, "Oh, okay, sure, shoot." And she says, "Where do you think coaches come from?" And we're like, that's a little bit of a strange question, but we were trying to answer it, very, openly, very, very thoughtfully. And then she says, "Yes, great answers. Let me tell you, because I've done research on that. And then she said the answer. Coaches come from the place of their insecurity.
Yeah.
I sat back and I'm like, oh my gosh, how true, isn't it? Here I am thinking I want to change the world. Oh, I want to impact the world with coaching and choose the type of people I want to work with, and realizing actually these are the types of people that I am a part of because I've been there. I've gone through those things personally and deep within me, and I have sometimes failed in those areas. And now becoming a coach, wanting to make that impact in that same area. That's so beautiful to gift you onto your openness on what you were saying about this place of understanding self, that brave step
Yeah.
into diving deep in.
Mel, I'm just listening to you. If you ask me, my selfish reason to be into coaching is to just to take care of myself, because every single conversation helps to heal that wound itself. Let me make this statement.
Yeah.
It's a very loud statement, but I believe in that. Let me just
Yeah.
tell you as is. I personally feel that all of us, we
Mm.
come from broken families. All of us. And when I'm using the word broken, with a huge respect, I'm using this word. Now,
Mhm.
as much as I was the first, second, or the third baby in my family, it was that initial experience for my parents as well.
Yeah.
And of course, they didn't know how to nurture, how to foster a child. How can we expect them to nurture us the way a child should be nurtured?
Mm.
And at times, the traumas that we carry, not only intellectually at the cognitive level, I'm talking about the traumas which is there in the environment, in
Yeah.
the religion that I'm born in the state that I'm born in the country that I'm born in, the collective traumas that I'm born in.
I hear you.
How can we expect somebody from that space to show up differently? Of course, I would carry those essence, those small ingredients within me.
Yeah.
Now, every time when I coach, when I listen to the stories of the people, I know a part of me is getting healed. And now the interesting part is for every conversation, I'm paid for that as well. Isn't this a blessing? Tell me.
Oh yeah. Tell me about it. Don't say
It's
it too. Don't say it
grace.
too loud. Don't say it too loud.
You can delete this part.
I probably won't. And it's as honest as we get on this show, because why hide the truth? Because the truth sets people free.
Yeah, with you on that.
Yeah. So good. So good. I'm going to ask you this question relating to organizations, right? Because you've been evangelizing coaching far and wide, and there are obviously organizations that's easier to penetrate coaching into, and then there are organizations that say, "Oh, well, we've done that. We've done coaching. We've done coaching, mentoring. Isn't it the same, right?
Yeah.
Been there, done that." Love to hear your thoughts on what you would do to kind of invite that conversation, the dialogue, so that coaching can coexist with the culture of the company.
Yeah. And this is an amazing question, Mel, and you're asking me at the appropriate time. Recently, I was leading a program on a program called Leaders as Coaches, and
Yeah.
one gentleman with over 2 decades of experience said, "Gaurav, what you're saying is wrong. That's not what coaching is. I've been doing coaching for 2 decades." And with due respect, every time when I would open my mouth to talk about listening, self-awareness, self-acceptance, the basics, the basic foundations of coaching, he would interrupt me. He said, "I don't think that awareness is important as a coach." Now, the question is, what can we do as
Mm,
individuals, as facilitators, as the carriers of or the evangelist of coaches? Invite them in a conversation
mm,
and create an experience for them. Firm believer, it's an experience, not a concept that can shift perspectives,
So true.
right? So the objective is, the question is, how can I create an experience in a way
Mm,
that shifts perspectives for that individual? Now, how do you do
mm,
that? As I mentioned, the only one that you can change is yourself. Let's look at these few points, right? The first point is, the only person that you can change is yourself. You cannot change anybody else. So you can only create an experience for the other person. Second one is, how can you walk on a path that could inspire the other person
mm.
to experiment with what you are dabbling with?
Yeah.
That's the second point. The point number three is, are you willing to walk that path an extra mile? He might take
Mm.
a little extra time. She might take
Yeah.
a little extra time. But are you willing to walk that path?
And I feel that if we did not do the third one, then it would have no impact because we fail to go the extra to be patient with them and their 20 years of success in some ways, yeah,
Precisely.
and to empathetically understand where they are coming from.
So if you visit the ICF core competencies, the new 8 core competencies that ICF
Yeah,
talks about,
yeah,
in a couple of competencies they have spoken about that how can you walk that extra mile to understand the identity, the context, the environment,
yes,
the space where the other person is operating from.
correct.
And I'm a firm believer that you cannot address anything which is emotional
Mm.
with intellect, right? You cannot do that.
So true.
So in case you would like to address something which is emotional,
Mm.
either you have to get to that level of emotional experience,
Yeah.
or the second one is a spiritual experience.
Mm.
Now, when I'm using the word spiritual, not to go esoteric or abstract, I'll
Yeah.
talk about the very basic 3 traits of expression, connection, and contribution. And once I start to operate from these 3 spaces, allowing myself to express, allowing myself to connect, allowing myself to
Yeah.
contribute, and
Contribute.
allowing the other person to
Mm.
express, connect, and contribute, we'll
Very
be able to
nice.
pull that.
It's so true because it is connecting with them at a different plane. This is no longer just what I say versus what you say.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely not.
Yeah,
In that case, we have lost it.
exactly. And I remember doing that early on in my journey, right? It's like, no, because you haven't tasted what coaching is,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
they go
yeah,
on. It's like, yeah, right.
yeah, yeah,
And such is a lost case of that. But
yeah,
I'm thankful that I went on my journey as well on
yeah,
shifting.
yeah.
my
Mel, I guess we
yeah,
all have done that.
yeah,
And if you look at, I will not generalize anything, but I'll talk
yeah,
about myself. When I used to advocate for coaching, I was coming from my own insecurities.
yeah,
Uh, I was doing coaching. There was no 100% buy-in for coaching because
yeah.
at that point in time, it did not allow me to taste transformation.
Mm,
It did not allow me to earn the bread and butter that I wanted to buy at that point in time.
yeah.
I was struggling. I was not getting what I was looking forward to. I was not convinced deep down. So there was a need to push my thoughts onto others
Mm,
without being convinced.
yeah,
And
that's right.
today, when I don't have to deliver the content, when I'm willing to become the content, then there's no need to say that I'm a rose, I'm a sun, I'm a moon, I'm day, I'm night. I am. I am
Yeah,
life. I
yeah,
am. And that's it.
yeah,
Period.
yeah.
And that's what
Wonderful.
shifts everything
Mm,
for the other person as well. Because
so true.
then there's no clash of ego at that point in time. My point
Exactly.
versus your point now. Can we
Exactly.
coexist?
Yeah.
Can we coexist? So
And that brings me to that future. And we can smell it. Right? The future is already here, some say. What do you think, Gaurav, the future of coaching is going to look like, feel like, taste like?
yay. Yay. It's only going to get better.
Yeah.
Um, in several ways and forms. Somebody told me this, and let me just share that with you. The statement goes like this: I want to see a future when there would not be any need for coaching. I'm involved in a global project where we are talking about creating awareness for humanity. If you look at how the awareness is shifting in the world, there was a time when we had tribes, we had clans, we had nation, then we had people awareness, and then we had capitalism, consumerism. The world is slowly and steadily pivoting towards humanity. And as we have discussed during the conversation as well,
Mm.
of all the definitions that we are talking about, if you just replace the word coach with human being,
Human beings, yeah.
the definition will still remain the same.
Mm.
So that means for as long as humanity is going to exist, coaching is going to exist.
Mm.
And I believe
Mm.
the ego is not going to go out of human beings in any shape and form for
Yeah.
everyone.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why coaching is going to stay here and is eternal. That's
Mm.
a little philosophical response to your question. Coming back to 5,000 miles above ground or 3 miles above ground or here, I
Yeah.
think let's try and understand that. Uh, let's talk about India and then I'll talk about global. 2006, when I'm talking about, there were only group of 14 to 16 people in India. In one part of the India, they came together and started coaching. Out of those 14, 16 people, only 2 people are practicing coaching from that batch.
Wow.
Uh, the journey continued. 2009 is when I got involved in ICF India chapter. There were few leaders, including Bhaskar, Renu, Vikram, Dayanand, Vijay. All these people, they actually held the space for coaches like nobody's business in India. We grew to 180 people in 2015 when I stepped down from ICF. Also, 2012, if you look at the number of ACCs and PCCs grew up to 60 people in India. And today, if you look at, there would
Mm.
be thousands of people who have gone through coaching certification, who are credentialed.
Mm.
Globally, if you look at, we have over 40,000 to 50,000 people who are
Yeah.
credentialed, right?
Yeah.
Or who are the members of ICF. Now, similarly, we have got European Council for Coaching and Mentoring. We have got an association in Australia. We have got an association in Japan. We have got an APAC region coaching association. We have
Yeah.
got small associations of coachings who are evangelizing coaching in different parts of the world. Coaching continues to grow. As per HBR, as per the research that was done by PwC and ICF, they are showing that the industry is growing at the fastest possible level. And by 2025, it would be a few $1 billion, which
Yeah.
would be in 2 digits, right? By
Yeah.
2025. And we're already sitting at 2021. So that means we
Yeah.
are just entering the future. Also, as per several magazines, coaching is the second fastest growing industry in the world. Why? Because it's genuinely contributing to the mental, emotional, psychological well being of an individual. And also, if you look at the way coaching is growing, there was a time when people used to talk about only 2 or 3 kinds of coaching:
Yeah.
life
Yeah.
coaching, leadership coaching, and executive coaching.
Yeah.
Today, as we are talking right now, we are talking about life coaching, executive coaching, leadership coaching, well-being coaching, health coaching, parental coaching, teenager coaching, sports coaching, this coaching, that coaching. People have started to identify their own niches.
Mm.
It is growing the way medical field has grown, the way the field of counseling, psychotherapy, consulting, accounting, legal, the way these industries have grown. This is the time to invest in this industry. So the future is bright. And I often share with people, it's not that people are lazy, it's the intensity in their dreams which is very dim. I'm sure my intensity in my dream of making sure coaching becomes a language to reckon with is very strong.
Love it. Love it. Love it. One of the questions we ask on the show is for the young budding coaches coming in. So, Gaurav, what will be your master wisdom to leave for these group of coaches?
I'll come back to very basics. The
Mm.
journey of a coach is a journey of a human being.
Okay.
Let's invest our time and energy to invest on ourselves.
Mm.
Self awareness is the key, self acceptance is the road, and listening is what we need to carry to create an ecosystem which is beautiful for all of us. Is it easy? No. Do you fall flat on your face and on your bum? Yes. Am I failing every day? Yes. Do I cry on daily basis looking at the things that I say and the things I do? Yes. Am I a hypocrite in several ways in life? Yes. Is there a time when I don't do the things that I say? Yes. So that means I falter. I'm a human being.
Yeah.
And yet, the next day, I pick up those broken pieces, pick them up with tears in my eyes, and take the next possible step. Is it the best possible step? Probably no. But I do take the next step. Start with yourself, build awareness. That's what I would say.
Thank you. That applies not just for the body coaches, but to me and to many out there.
Yeah, I'm sure.
As we call them, human beings.
Yes.
This question is always our final question. As coaches, we ask powerful questions. What would be your question to leave behind today?
Mel, I don't know the one question, but these are the three questions which are disturbing me for quite some time.
We're getting a bonus today. We're going to get three
Yeah.
questions for Gaurav. Here we go.
And I've been struggling with this. I don't have an answer. Why should I have all the pain? The first question that I've been playing with is what matters in life?
Yeah.
The second question is who am I? The third question is how can I find freedom in everything that I do, everywhere? As I'm asking you this question, I'm feeling pain in my chest. I'm feeling pain in my heart because I don't have the answer, Mel.
Yeah.
And I'm experiencing cold blood rushing in my veins. So thank you for asking me this question.
And thank you for sharing that blessing to all of us. Gaurav, this is the time where I invite you to share with us some of your media handles and ways that people can come in contact with you.
I'm on LinkedIn. You can find me at Gaurav Arora at X-Monks. X-Monks is the company that I run in India. Several conversations that we have had, all my views that I've shared. You'll find few video snippets there on my LinkedIn page. And do visit us. We organize bi-monthly webinar series called Coaching Matters. I have a podcast of my own called the X-Monks Drive. It would be a pleasure to have you. And Mel, thank you so much for this opportunity. Interacting with you, connecting with you. You give me an opportunity to express myself. Thank you for your contribution.
Oh, you're so welcome. So welcome. Thank you. And
Shukran.
With that, this has been the 100 Master Coaches Show. Today, of course, with my dear friend Gaurav and myself, Mal, saying catch you on the next one. Take care. Bye for now.
Thank you so much, Mel. Thank you so much.
You have been watching the 100 Master Coaches series with your host, Coach Mel, MCC. Brought to you by Catalyst Coach. www.catalystcoach.live. We will be right back with our next Master Coach on the 100 Master Coaches series.